I'm Rollie Pemberton, aka Cadence Weapon, rapper, writer, poet, just writer. Did I say writer?
Yeah, you said writer, but it makes sense to say it twice because I mean, like, you're a writer of music, a writer of books, a writer of Hazlitt articles. Yeah. So I think it makes sense you to throw it in twice.
Yeah.
We want to talk about this Saving Little Jamaica article, and I guess, like, first off, like, what inspired you to write that article?
Well, like, a few things inspired me. I've been interested in the area since before I even lived here, because I'm from Edmonton originally, from this compilation that came out called From Jamaica to Toronto. And I was just like, wow, I didn't realize there was such a symbiotic relationship between Jamaica and, like, the immigration to Canada. And then when I started living here, I would hang out in the area. I'd get my hair cut there. I'd, like, go to Raps and Randy's, and I was just like, man, this is such a really vibrant community. But then I started noticing that, with the LRT construction that was happening and other things, it seemed like it was like a little run down. It felt like it was like just weirdly underappreciated. And I remember one time I was going, on Google Maps, like, oh, like, how do I go over there? And I noticed when you put in Little Jamaica, like, nothing comes up. Like, the name is not imprinted there like it is for, like, Chinatown or, Little Malta even, or, Little Italy. And I'm just like, why is that? Yeah. So that was really where it started. I was just like, why is it not as solidified as other places?
You said you discovered the album Kingston to Toronto.
Or it's from Jamaica to Toronto.
From Jamaica to Toronto. Sorry, yeah. You're a musician, so I'm guessing that started like a rabbit hole of sort of like the artists who are on that album. But is that when you sort of started, like, digging into sort of like the history of Little Jamaica, or?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I like I typically will with a record I like a lot, I went super hard digging, and I realized, okay, so there's all these labels that were happening in Toronto, like Summer Records and Micron Music, and then I didn't realize, back in the day there was like 6 or 7 record stores just on that strip of Eglinton. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like if you wanted to get reggae from anywhere and you were in Toronto, you would go to Little Jamaica. Yeah. It was like, it felt like more of a hub, and there was like this energy and this kind of industrious spirit that I think is being, like, lost.
Mm-hmm. So somebody mentioned to me actually just this week that, I don't know how this could be true, but I mean, maybe, that there was more record stores dedicated to, like, reggae music on Eglinton than there were in Kingston.
Yeah, no, honestly, I believe it. And it was, they were doing numbers, Mm-hmm. Like, people would come from, let me put it this way, like, Bob Marley would go there. He's like, oh yeah, like, I got to come hang out in this neighborhood. Yeah. If he's in town. It was like, it was something that people knew about.
Quick little sidebar. One of the things I love about that From Jamaica to Toronto album, because I was also, when I learned about it, I was also discovering most of these artists, aside from, like, Stranger Cole and maybe Jackie Me Too,
mm-hmm.
were the only ones that I knew of going into. Some great artist names on there.
Absolutely.
I think, like, Prince Jammy is one.
Yeah. See, that's more stuff. When I did research, I was just like, he lived here. Mm-hmm. He lived here. He started a studio in Malton.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it was, I don't know. I didn't realize that the connection was so deep, to the point where you could say that Toronto, back in the height of reggae, was, like, pretty much number 2 place other than Kingston in the world.
Yeah.
For reggae supremacy.
Getting back to the article, it was clearly, like, really well researched. not just about Little Jamaica, but even like comparisons to other neighborhoods, other Black neighborhoods in the U.S. and Canada. Is there anything in that research that, like, while you're doing it, just like really jumped out of the page at you, and like that you didn't know and you stumbled across and were just like, wow?
Well, it was one of those things where it's like the more research I did, the more of a connection I saw. And I realized that it wasn't just something that was happening here in Toronto. It's just like a systemic issue that happens to Black communities all around the world. The thing that really blew me away was a lot of the stuff that was in New York, and just how it was done consciously to disenfranchise Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not, they had opportunities to build in other areas that wouldn't have displaced people, and they wanted to displace more. That was the thing that really tripped me out, is that like, I was like, oh, maybe they didn't know, but it's actually, in a lot of cases, they were aware of it.
You mentioned the Robert Caro book about Robert Moses,
yes,
the Power Broker.
Power Broker.
Have you did you read it?
I did.
I mean, it's a hell of a read.
I looked into it. I read like a lot of it, just looking for that specific story. But it's like, damn, it's crazy how one person can have such an adverse effect on culture in general.
Yeah,
you know, because that's like where people learned.
Mm-hmm.
Slum clearance. That's where it comes from.
It shows how urban planner can totally change the direction of a culture, of a city, of a state or province, of a nation. Like if you build it that way, you can have the desired effects, and those can be positive or negative.
Well, I think about like the current, housing crisis we have here in Toronto. I actually recently had a conversation with Josh Matlow just about Little Jamaica, and the thing that I'm realizing is that it's decisions that are made by people who are in power, 20 years ago, that seem small at the time, but have really vast consequences. Mm-hmm. And that the more I learn, the more I realize that. The thing about the whole LRT being built in Little Jamaica, and it's displacing people, and it's been going on for over a decade now. Before the LRT system that we're seeing now, they had a chance to build it. Mm-hmm. And the progressive conservative government shut it down. They even had built completely an entire station, and then they were like, no, we don't want to do it. We don't want transit. And they filled it back up with dirt.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You do mention that in the article. Going back to Little Jamaica and some of the comparisons you made with New York and how these things are done intentionally and how they really only happen with a certain amount of political will, you make a really good example of how just down the street from Eglinton, you have a neighborhood called Forest Hill that should have had the same fate, but was somehow able to escape that fate.
Yeah, no, I found that very interesting that, apparently they were consulted and they got to be a part of this survey. And now they're getting it a little bit. Like I've noticed, I've been over to that area and like there's a bit of construction happening now. But it's funny how certain economic status affords you, a little more flexibility when it comes to telling people no.
Yeah. I guess it really comes down to access and agency. I'm sure there's folks in Forest Hill who can just call up somebody at the city, even though there's people who are like iconic in Little Jamaica. I hardly believe Randy can just call up a city councilor.
No, unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
Should be that way, but
exactly.
It's not.
Mentioned some of the examples where this has happened in the past in other cities, and we're watching a certain type of historical erasure happen right here in Toronto under our nose. In your research, did you find any examples or come up with any ideas of your own that you feel could be possible solutions? Like what can we do to save neighborhoods like Little Jamaica?
Well, I think there's a few things that can be done. I think one of the major important things to me is just to solidify the name of the neighborhood. And and there was a motion passed by Josh Matlow and another one by Mike Cole that was about, it's officially going to be called Little Jamaica. They got to do the consultation with people in the community to confirm everybody's into it, but that will be happening soon.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I feel like the sooner that happens, the harder it is to erase what's there. I think another thing is, establishing some rent control for the businesses and just making sure that they get to be taken along with the growth of the community, because that's like the fear, like we've lost over 140 businesses, I think, since the construction began. I just worry about it becoming like a lot of places in Toronto now, where it's just like a Shoppers Drug Mart and A&W, Rexall, and it's just like all the same stuff everywhere.
It's the same.
It's the same. And it's like, I think, that was one of the things I loved about Toronto when I first moved here, is it had all these distinct, cultural regions that had their own vibe and their own character and their own flavor to them. And now we're getting into this like kind of homogenized era.
Yeah. Growing up in Winnipeg, and especially now when I go back, any of these places that had really distinct character, a lot of them have been lost, and it's really just a city of like box malls, of like these like outdoor box malls with this exact same stores in every neighborhood. And that that you lose so much of like what is interesting of the city. And so when you come to Toronto, and that was one of the things that was really distinct and unique, you just walk a few blocks and it's this vastly different landscape. And to see that sort of like every year losing a little bit more of it.
That's one of my life missions, is I'm trying to slow down that process. I'm the condo killer. I'm trying to shut down every condo I can. I want mid-size housing. You hear me? I want mid-size apartment buildings.
I like that. You add that to another rap alias.
Yeah,
Rollie Pemberton, aka Cadence Weapon, aka the Condo Killer.
I almost put that in my album. Like I was just like, it's Cadence Weapon, the Condo Killer.
We can make it official right here. We're just gonna, for now on at my Zima Toronto, we're gonna roll ahead with just when
Condo
we refer
Crusher.
to exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Rollie Pemberton, the Condo Killer, Condo Crusher. You also might know him as Cadence Weapon, but for us, it's the Condo Killer. Mm-hmm. We've touched a little bit on your upcoming album, and a book you've been writing. Upcoming album is called?
My new album is called Parallel World.
Looking to drop when? It's
going to be tentatively in April, but I feel like it's a curse as a rapper. Whenever I say when it's going to come out, it's going to be delayed. But
I mean, also in the middle of COVID, who knows?
Early 2021.
Yeah. 2021.
Yeah.
And the book also slated for 2021-ish?
No, it's definitely spring 2022.
Okay.
And it's called Bedroom Rapper.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's my life story, but also just the story of like underground Canadian music, the story of being a Black Canadian artist trying to make outsider music and stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to both projects. Line them up, 2021, 2022. Awesome. Thanks again. Rollie Pemberton, a.k.a. Cadence Weapon, a.k.a. Condo Crusher, a.k.a. Condo Killer.
It's a Condo Killer.